Rise up, the Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. The crew is back, and now it's time to rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. Rise up, rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. The crew is back, and now it's time to rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. Rise up.
And welcome back to the D's on Fire podcast. Duquesne comes off with 2 wins tonight. The women's team comes back from being down big in the first quarter, and the men's team kind of does the same thing. Down big in the first quarter, cut into it a little bit before half, and then both teams after the halftime really just took off, and that's kind of what brought these teams to victory tonight. Yeah, well,
better than the Fordham game.
Yeah, Fordham game. We shot 35% from the field, and that was a huge improvement on the first half. So we were talking last podcast about, do you know how bad it has to be 25% from the field? I do now. I saw it for an entire half in person. It was not fun.
It was bad.
It was real bad.
It didn't get much better the second half.
No, we did not shoot the 3 ball at all, really, against Fordham. Luckily, we did better tonight against Loyola, mainly in the second half. It seemed like where we got our stride back and our confidence back on offense. And Dan Brutt talked about that in the post-game presser after Fordham. Basically said Fordham's defense was making you beat somebody one-on-one. Either one of the perimeter guys had to win driving to the basket one-on-one, or one of the bigs had to win one-on-one battles. And they just, for whatever reason, could not do it against Fordham. I mean, it was a very physical game on both sides. Refs were consistent with that. It was just, man, they let a lot of things go.
It seemed like that's how Fordham plays. Like, they kind of just mucked it up. It wasn't pretty, but they made everything difficult defensively while we were on offense. And that's just kind of how the game went. Like Dan Brutt said, they made us play one-on-one ball, and we don't really have great one-on-one.
No, outside of Trey Clark, we do not, apparently. And Trey Clark went down in that game, and everybody was terrified. And then he did it in this game, and everybody was terrified again. Right. That's great, especially with McGriff and Matus out for both games. We have a lot of depth, and now it's all gone all of a sudden. So there's that fun aspect to it, which explains one of my criticisms after the Fordham game before I listened to the post-game press conference, and I'm sure you had the same, which was Trey Williams, Joe Reese / Austin Rotroff, and RJ Gunn should not be on the floor at the same time. It's not good. RJ is a great stretch 4, not a 3.
I think I think it has rebounding the most. I think Williams is the best rebounder out of those 3. You have a Reese Clark front court. That seems to be the biggest weakness between together, is that's kind of how the offensive rebounding has gotten even worse with those 2. I think that's why he's been trying that lineup. That's at least my theory.
An okay theory. Trey Williams looked like he was going to have a great matchup against Fordham. At the start, they went to him. He seemed to be dominating his guy. And then, I don't know if Fordham adjusted or what happened, but that stopped working. And then Joe Reese could not get anything going against the guy that was covering him.
Yeah, he only played 12 game, and I noticed this happens a lot when Reese really clicking. He gets the ball blocked a lot of the post. He doesn't really have a jump hook or anything. He kind of tries to shoot regularly out of the post a lot when he does that against good defenses. So that's something that I've noticed over the past few games. When struggling, he just gets stuffed in the post essentially.
Yeah. And I mean, we've mentioned it before. Tevin and Day Day offensively weren't really contributing the past few games, and to start conference play, that was illustrated even more so in that Fordham game. Day Day hit the three before the end of the first half to give us a lead.
Yeah.
That was nice, and then I was hoping that would carry over in the second half, and it did not. So it did carry over into tonight's game, especially in the second half. He brought it
Thankfully.
back. Um, those few minutes towards the end of the game that he went on fire, that was what I saw prior to you really joining in and watching of Day Day, where he just lit things up and
Yeah.
had so much confidence, and it was nice to see.
Um, Sticking to the Fordham part, yeah, Brewer and Day Day didn't play well, and as a team, um, 5 total assists when we're one of the better team assist teams in the A10. Um, Fordham's defense was really good, and I think they kind of locked up Brewer, especially to find lanes. He couldn't really facilitate the offense like he normally could. Um, yeah, I think it more so had to do with Fordham's defense than Duquesne's um, lack of offense. Really, I think Fordham really made it difficult for us in that aspect.
Yeah, in a lot of games where we haven't shot the ball as well, I've seen that we still have open looks and we're just not making them.
Yeah,
The Fordham game, that wasn't really the case. We just could not get anything going offensively. So I do
no.
give Fordham's defense credit, but
Dixon played really well.
yeah, he did. He had the offensive play of the game with that spin move on the drive in the first half, and then I think he ended with 8 points in that game.
8 points in 19 minutes. Um, for some reason, so we found the plus minus numbers on Duquesne's website. I wanted to see what the plus minus numbers for Dixon was in this game. They don't have it up yet. Duquesne doesn't. So sportsreference.com, which is the equivalent of basketball reference just for college. Box plus minus, which I don't even really know what that is. I don't feel like figuring that out, but it's an advanced number. Dixon was a by far the biggest plus minus plus 11 uh, box plus minus in that game. So
Yeah, so
showed that he did it on defense and on point.
yeah, um, the analytics speak to what my eyes saw, which was he was definitely the best player in that game. Didn't get much opportunity in this one. Rotroff had the game of his career, I think,
Yeah,
tonight, so that contributed to the shortened bench, and I think Coach Dambrot was trying to give Reese some confidence back after last the last game,
mm-hmm.
and I mean Bonaventure and Fordham kind of grouped together to be bad performances. Dambrot talked about it in the press conference after the Fordham game. Said this happened the last time they had a week off in between games. They played two terrible ones, which was included the Marshall game, and so he's hoping that they'll regroup just like they did last time and go on another run. And there won't be another long break until probably the conference tournament, conference season to conference tournament time. So
I think I
hopefully we
saw.
don't.
I think I saw him Saturday against. I'm drawing a blank, but Saturday we won't have another game till the Saturday, like 1 week from Saturday.
Dang it, that's not good. Hopefully they fix whatever has been ailing them.
Okay, yeah. So we play UMass this Saturday, 28th, and then don't play until February 4th against George Washington.
Okay. Well, and George Washington is the surprise team in the A10 right now. I think they're fourth in conference standings. Um, so that'll be a good matchup. UMass is a bottom barrel team when they were expected to be a top tier team. So the A10, it's something else. Um, yeah. Other
Anything else?
thoughts?
Yeah, go ahead.
The third, like the start of the second half, we opened both the women's and the men's game because I was watching both at the same time. They just, it was like the Curry led Warriors back in like 2012, 2013 when they hadn't won the championship yet. But every third quarter, was the Curry quarter where he just went off. That's what it
Yeah.
seemed like for our teams. Tess Myers and Laura Wasselson from the girls just lit it up from three. We were down 6 or 7 starting the second half in that game. We were up 15, I think, by the end of the third quarter. So it was a huge jump for them. And then the guys, I mean, we held Loyola without a basket for I think 8 minutes into the second half.
Yeah. Yeah, the defense got us back into that game, which is shocking.
Yeah, it was a defensive-led effort, really. From a field goal percentage, we still didn't shoot the ball all too well for most of this game. But defensively, we grinded. Alston had his way, especially in the first half. I texted you to let you know Trey Williams was the only guy who could cover him in the first half. And then in the second half, it seemed like a group effort, and we did an okay job against him. Still got, I think, 7 or 8 more points in the second half, but definitely was not another 17.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, for reference to all any of the Loyola first half, I was still on the clock, still paying the bills. So for that, but got to watch got to watch the comeback, which is what matters.
Yeah, and I missed the end of the first half, but got back in time to watch the second half. So not work, putting kids to bed and doing household chores. So
Other different.
yes, the other duties as requested, bullet point on any job. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really wanted to touch on this week, aside from the comments that we got on YouTube. There was a fine individual by the name of Damon Williams who responded to our podcast and commented, "If dreams were on fire on the 20th, Nick is in hell after Fordham and Davidson losses over the weekend." And that was so true. I watched the Fordham game in person, watched the Davidson game on Sunday, which was the girls' game where they came back, basically had Tess Myers made a three to take the lead down to, got fouled with 8 seconds left, and it was just to cap off this great comeback run. And it was just like, all right, they did it. They're at home. This is great. And then the rest I'm not going to complain. They call a foul with 2 seconds left. Davidson makes both free throws, and they win the game. There was a chance on the offensive end, missed bucket. So it was a heartbreaker all around. But yeah, that he was right. It somehow got even worse. It was a dark place up until tonight, and even in the first half of both games, it was still a dark place.
It was
It was
still dark.
very
Yeah,
dark.
very dark. Yeah,
I wasn't sure how this was going to go.
the
with
lights
how
were
dark.
on, but they were super dim.
Oh no, my lights in the basement were off. I was sulking. There was there was no dim lights. It was the TV, and that was it.
Fair enough.
So yeah, we bounced back, and yeah, I'm hoping that both Brewer and Day carry this confidence that they found at the end of this game into the rest of conference play. Day especially, he really was moving well with the ball, had confidence in his shot. The first confident shot I saw was a 2-pointer that he like spun in the air, kind of like after stopping the dribble and put it in. I don't know if you remember that play.
Is this second? Are you talking second half? Because obviously
Yeah,
I missed it. With the yeah, I do remember.
The mid-range shot
Yeah,
that was like the start of, okay, he's feeling himself, and then it kept going. So and Trey Clark looks healthy, which was worried about that. And the commentary by Tim Benz, yeah, he was worried about it too. I kind of wish he'd stop being so vocal about those worries
yeah.
at a certain
Seriously,
point.
he was like
But
trying to speak it into existence again or
yeah,
something. I don't
it's
know
like
what he was
he
trying to
looks
do.
fine. Just don't talk about it.
Yeah. Don't you know about the commentator's jinx?
Yeah, but I will say the commentary was great in describing the madness that took place in this game.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't lead off with it. Yeah, I'm on a diet right now, so McDonald's sounds really fucking good.
Yeah, Uber Eats delivery onto the court Somebody tweeted that they think it was like a TikTok or a YouTube prank thing.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all speculation at this point, but that came out.
It's so crazy. Like I can absolutely believe that. I can absolutely believe because the first replay, so the ref is like waving him off. He's in the corner
Literally
about to
while
take
the
like a.
ball is in the corner.
Oh yeah,
Like
it's a live game. Yeah,
well, it's a live game, but also like he's almost touching the guy who has the ball, which is
he was
also at
guarding
that
him. I
point.
think.
Yeah,
I think he was trying to bait him with some McDonald's, some different
I'll
defense.
trade. I'll trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the commentators joked that the ref said, "Not now, I'll get it later."
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
the
I kind of understood what they were saying. It was
the the courts there are courtside seats there. They followed him a little after that, where he was still walking around looking for somebody to give the McDonald's to. Um, so I don't know what ended up happening to it. That I
and you know something funny really happened when you get I got an ESPN update on my phone
yeah.
referencing that video already. So
Yeah, our Twitter account tweeted that we need to put that in Duquesne's version of the Louvre, which is that for any students, I don't know if it's still there, but for any students that were around the times that Alec and I were there, they had that little room in the student union near the law school that just had some random artwork. Just put that in there. We're good to
yes,
go.
yes,
Um,
the ref has to be in there waving him off in
Absolutely, that
whatever
has to be part
picture.
of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Honestly, if we do the video and just have the commentary added to it in the background, that's just there it is.
It was a great
Uh,
moment.
yeah, it really encapsulates so much of the season.
Yeah.
um, I will also add we did get a comment on Facebook saying that we have been too negative. I will try to. I'm trying to be as positive as I can.
Nick
I
is
mean,
really positive after a win and really negative after a loss, but it's because he's so positive overall about the team that when we have losses, it hurts him that much more.
right. I mean, I think I had as optimistic of a view as anybody, and because the team's not meeting my unrealistic expectations, it hurts that much more.
Yeah.
And I will say, I do my,
It's called being a diehard fan. That's what that is.
and I will say, I try my darndest to take it out on the refs and not the team. I try so hard to just complain about the refs instead of the team. Uh, but
And I have
you
to
know,
reel you back in because it's
no,
not always the refs.
it's not. But I mean, we've had a lot of bad officiating this season. Um, yeah, I don't think. I mean, this game wasn't bad, and like I said, Fordham they they called it consistently, so that's all you can really ask for. Um, on the women's side and the men's side, they continue to have the same record, so there is that where we just continue to have this bizarre streak of both teams having the same exact record and conference record, 4-4, which I mean, start of the season, love that start for
Yeah.
the guys. Going into conference play, hate this start for the guys. So let's keep it going. Let's see if we can make up some ground here with our easier schedule compared to most teams in the conference.
Yeah. I think this was a good, like they said on the broadcast, Dukes haven't lost more than 2 games in a row. So this game was big difference. Go 500 in the A10 or you're down 2 games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If nothing else, perception wise, it's just a monumental difference.
Yeah.
Um, and from 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 the conference perspective as a whole, Saturday was truly bizarre. Not just our game, but really the entire conference had some bizarre results. I'm gonna go try and find them now. Um, Saturday. So it started off with George Mason beating Rhode Island. That wasn't crazy, but Rhode Island scared George Mason. Like Rhode Island, who was terrible, almost won that game. Dayton lost to George Washington, which is why George Washington is suddenly a top 4 team in the conference.
Yep.
Sorry, I'll edit that out. Uh, UMass losing to St. Joe's, which again, St. Joe's has bounced back after we really destroyed them at their gym. St. Louis ended up beating LaSalle, but LaSalle also gave them a scare, which not expected. And then
Mhm.
Loyola got their first conference win against St. Bonaventure after the Bonnies destroyed us earlier this week. So yeah, it was great. Um,
I actually have some more on the Fordham game.
all right, go
Some
ahead.
things that since we're talking about Saturday, we'll go back to our Saturday. Um, so I wrote this down because I didn't watch this game live. I didn't have time, so I watched it Sunday morning. So I knew the result, unfortunately, and I wrote at the 8:13 mark in the second half, Fordham had 40 points. Fordham scored 65 points in their win against us. So that means they scored 25 points in
The
eight
final 8 minutes.
minutes,
Yeah,
which is on pace for like 62 and a half points in a half.
yeah. And I mean, I don't remember the timestamp exactly, but the turning point of the game, even though they had already scored a decent amount, seemed to be we didn't call timeout when Day Day got trapped. I think there's like 3 minutes left in the game, maybe four. We cross half court, he gets double teamed. Just call timeout. We had three of them. Just call timeout, keep possession. Instead, we turn the ball over, they score, and then that's followed up by their rain of threes that they had, which just buried.
Three wide open threes I have led up with about a minute and a half in the game.
Yeah, so I guess that turnover is probably around 2:33 minute mark. Um, yeah, they three
And
different players
yeah,
just buried them. And yeah, it was just not fun to watch.
and I also wrote down like our our players were getting good shots towards the end of the second half, and they were at the rim actually, and we just couldn't finish. I have written Rozier missed like a wide open layup that he could have made, and he wasn't the only one. I just I don't know, for some reason I wrote him down specifically, but players were getting good shots at the rim, which we don't typically do. And now it makes sense. Now I'm talking out loud. We don't normally get to the rim, so when they get there and they shoot it, they're like, can this thing go in?"
Well, also when we went to the rim in the first half, we got the ball blocked.
That's why I
Ridiculous.
said for the preview of that game, one of the best block percentage teams in the country for them.
Yeah, and they showed that. I miss the days of Michael Hughes when we were one of the top blocking teams. It was fun. Uh,
And then this is the last thing I have. They force a turnover by or Joe Reese and Rozier do a double team while Fordham has the ball. They force a good turnover, led
oh,
to
the
a day
missed three.
shot.
Yeah,
That's a really good shot for
it
him,
was.
and
It looked good coming out of his hands.
he missed it, and that was I feel like that was when all hope was lost once he
Yeah,
missed that shot.
accurate. I think that brings it to a one possession game if he makes that.
Yeah,
Um,
and that was a good shot. I mean, that's a shot that Day Day can make. He made tougher shots in this Loyola Chicago game
yeah, I was gonna
tonight.
say he also made one very similar to it tonight.
So that was tough because it felt like when I watched it, like this game was winnable. I mean, Fordham made it; they mucked it up, and that's how they wanted to play. But we still were able to win that game. Um, so yeah, those were just the few last notes I had on Fordham.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there was anything else from that game that I really wanted to talk about, which I mean there really wasn't. It was tough
Williams
to
started.
watch.
Well, Trey Williams has
Yeah,
started the last two games since
yeah.
coming back.
I thought it would hurt the offense more. I don't think he's actually hurting the offense. I think it's just a matter of like us not getting in the flow of things. Because I don't think, especially against Fordham, I think Trey Williams was the better matchup to start the game. So I thought it might have just been matchup based with how they opened up the game against Fordham. But then RJ Gunn not getting the start tonight makes me rethink, and maybe it's just Coach Dambrot really likes Trey, which you asked what his strengths were, what his strongest point was. I think it is defense. I think he's our best interior defender, despite his
The
height.
last two games he's played well on defense, but I think that that RJ Gunn's weakness is rebounding and defense is what he shown. And Williams was the second biggest part of a top offensive rebounding team before he got injured. Like it was Rotroff, and then I would say Williams is the next
Yeah.
best rebounder. So I think, and since we've been getting killed on the offensive glass, um, that's something that's very important.
Yeah. Day had a few steals tonight. Trey had a few steals tonight. I mean, Trey always has a few steals, but
4 steals. I have the box score open. 4 steals for Trey, Jimmy Clark, and then one for Grant, one for Brewer, two for Joe Reese. 9 steals total as a team.
yeah. Rotroff also got one just like passed to him where he had position
He did.
down
Yeah,
low.
he did. Yeah.
So that was nice.
I guess we should talk a little bit more about Rotroff because he had, like you said, probably his best offensive game at least um,
Yeah.
this season, and they were all wide open dunks. But I mean, he knows how to position himself. That's why he's such a good rebounder. And both offensively and defensively, he's not athletic enough to just out jump guys. So he has to position himself really well to get those rebounds. And then the same thing with these dunks. He's reading the space. He's reading the pick and roll when a guy's laying off of him, and he's getting in position where he can get a wide open pass and dunk it. So it's not. It may look easy, but it does take some basketball IQ to get in that position.
Yeah, and it wasn't a dunk, but it was a very impressive contested layup or shot, whichever you
Yeah,
want to phrase it, as well, down low. And it was funny because it felt like he was getting a heat check by getting it passed to him at the free throw line at one point, and he was like, "I know myself. I'm not taking
yeah,
this."
yeah.
Um,
Great restraint. I don't know if I could have done it because I would have been feeling myself personally.
yeah. And RJ Gunn hit the dagger shot essentially, putting us up 8 with a minute or so to go. And then on defense, I don't know if you noticed, he was running around like he had no idea where he was going. He was
That's what I
chasing
was
the
saying.
ball
That's
like
what I mean.
crazy.
I mean, and there was, I think it was one of the last possessions of the game. I mean, he was leaving his rotations from the weak side. He comes in way too hard, and then his man is left wide open, which he was guarding Alston late in the game. I think
Yeah.
Alston,
Well,
excuse me.
I think Welch was the one that he like just overcommitted, and the guy just took one dribble to the right and then wide open layup because
Yeah.
RJ just ran right past him.
So yeah, so like I think that's part of the reason why Trey Williams is probably going to start over him because defensively this team is already a weakness. So need all any plus defender we can get.
Yeah, and now that we've seen so many weeks that we can't just pick a new guy every week as the best Duquesne Duke player, I think Trey Clark is kind of cementing himself as the most important player
He's
on
not
both
the
ends.
focal point in the offense, but he's always taking like I have the box score open, so he shot 5 of 11 from the field, 1 of 5 from three. Not great, but like he
And
just
and the
he
one
loves
three
driving
was
to the
the
paint.
first one he took all game too. That
Oh,
opened up our scoring. Um, yeah, so that's
um,
funny.
but yeah, he's always hovering around that 10, 11, 12 shot range, which is perfect. Always hitting, between 4, 5, 6 shots. Um, but yeah, I think I'm going for next week. I'll do a deep dive into maybe the conference play of like who's been the best player because I think it's been Trey Clark and Day had he had a better game tonight, but still wasn't peak
No,
Day tonight.
no, peak day days 20 some points and shooting like 75% from the field.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's averaging. I think he's down to like 15 points a game. He had 13 points in this game. Shot 5 of 13, 3 of 9 from three. He was better, but better relative to how poorly he's played over the last few games.
I am very uh, interested to see how Dambrot uses the bigs moving forward because it's clear that Reese has kind of lost some confidence or just like has
He's also
some,
getting into foul trouble a lot.
yeah, foul trouble and then
Four
maybe
fouls in this game and didn't he basically didn't finish the game.
no, and then maybe scouting has been coming into play on how to stop him because I mean we mentioned it in the Richmond. He has like a few moves that are really really good, but if you know it's coming, then maybe you can counter it, and that's might be what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, and then I mean Trey, he's valuable. He doesn't bring as much offensive firepower necessarily, but like he'll bring in 4 to 10 points a game, I'll say, usually closer to 4 to 6, but and then does everything else that you need. Rotroff, same sort of thing. He'll bring like 2 to 6 points most
If we
nights.
could combine like our four best front court guys, I mean, we would have the perfect big
Yeah,
because everyone's weakness is another person's strength. It's crazy. And
I
Joe Reese showed some passing tonight. He was, I think, the assist man on two of those road drop
yeah,
dunks. So and he's shown that throughout the season. So that wasn't, and those were wide open dunks, but still, he's a pretty good passer for a big.
yeah. And Dixon, I still think he has the highest athletic upside of any of our bigs that is ready. Barre maybe have a higher upside uh, in total, but from what I've seen in games, Dixon's more ready to use it.
Yep.
So I do wish he could get some more minutes somehow. I don't think it's really going to happen unless Reese or Rotroff get hurt at this point. But yeah,
Do you think he could have been injured again because he had that, like you said, like a nagging knee injury before, I
before he
forget. Yeah.
before the Fordham game, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
hope so because I mean, like I said in the beginning, he played so well in that Fordham
yeah.
game, and he was the best player on the court when he did play. So it'd be kind of weird for him not to play at all in this game.
After that showing, yeah. I'll listen to the post game after our pod and hear about it. Shout out, by the way, to Zach Weiss. I expect them to mention him in the post game press conference too. It's his birthday today, so when I say today, I mean the day that we're recording, not when you'll be hearing this. Uh,
Okay. Happy
so
belated from the listeners, but
yeah,
happy birthday from us.
yeah, happy birthday, Zach. Thank you for covering the Dukes for so many years now. Um, yeah, and outside of that, I'm looking forward to a little a little reprieve here, and hopefully a good game against UMass.
Yeah, I was thinking if I had anything else. No, I think that's about it.
All right, UMass, I will say, very similar to uh, kind of the scouting report for VCU, where their point guard Fernandez is by far and away their best player. Um, they have other guys that can uh, contribute, and they might have a matchup advantage somewhere, like Johns did against us. Um, But for the most part, for if Trey Clark doesn't get in foul trouble and shuts down Fernandez, we should be okay.
He's been pretty good about maybe not totally shutting a guy down, but definitely making it very
Yeah,
hard for them. So
limiting
I
star
trust him.
players
I
has
definitely
been
trust him.
limiting star guards has definitely been a strength of our defense. There's not many strengths of this defense, but that is one of them. Um,
We
and
get
it really,
steals, and that's all. I mean, half. I would say like 50% of the steals, like they are somewhat contributed to Trey Clark, whether he's actually getting the steal himself or just blocking off a passing lane altogether.
or just being a nagging pest and frustrating the hell out of guy to the point where he's making dumb mistakes. Um,
That's true. I mean, he plays a little risky. He reminds me of a little bit of Matisse Thybulle on the Sixers. Whenever I said reminds me of, it's always a Sixer. So
yeah,
just so you guys know, but Thybulle he does high risk, high reward things, and if you have the instincts to do it, then those rewards happen more often than the negative risks. So I'm all for it.
and because he's one of my boys, and I don't feel like I talked about him enough, Kareem Rozier heads up play, getting Welch to foul out by driving to the basket towards the end of the game.
That was a great
Um,
drive. Yeah,
yeah, so
very aggressive. Yep.
we need more of that. So yeah,
And he closed the game. We did the small backcourt closeout. I was anticipating Trey Clark to come back in around the 3 minute mark. I think he came out with 5 minutes left.
yeah, it was a little
Um,
more than five because of his four fouls, and then he came
yeah,
back with like I think 2 minutes
no, it was
maybe.
less than that. It was like a minute. It was less than 2 minutes,
Oh, he's got
which I
that dunk. So
found
the
kind of surprising.
dunk was with less than a minute left. So yeah, um,
But either way,
Yeah, and it worked well. Brewer, Rozier, and Day all can really annoy a wing with how they defend. And
On
Day,
ball.
yeah,
On ball.
on ball, correct. Off ball, we do not have the
Off
focus.
ball, a lot of players are all over the place.
Yeah. Day, I think, is really annoying with how he moves his body where he can very easily draw a foul with his like sliding, and I don't know. I don't know what to call it. It's like a bobbled body almost, where just like everything seems to be ready to get knocked over like he's Jello. Um, and then Rozier is just right up in your face, regardless of how quick you are. And Brewer just seems like he's ready to get the steal, and he hasn't been getting as many this year, but it definitely seems like it was probably one of his strengths going into the season. I'm not sure if the shoulder is like preventing him from going for it, or if it's foul trouble from Trey Clark that he's trying not to get as many steals. I don't know, but he definitely seems like he's in position to make that attempt if he wanted to.
Yeah, I think positionally he's pretty good. Just sometimes his just lack of size, ultimately that's the
Yeah,
deficit.
yeah, um, yeah. Perimeter defense on ball, very confident. Off ball, we're a mess.
Yeah, I think the two culprits off ball. Well, actually, the on ball, Joe Reese, not great.
No,
Can't defend the
bigs. We
pick
did
and
not.
roll.
We were not talking about bigs there. We were
No, no. But when I was thinking of on ball, I thought of him as no, and then off ball, I think of RJ Gunn and Day as both very bad.
I mean, you know how much I love him, but Trey Williams, both off ball and on ball, might be our best defender.
I
As
don't
a
know
big,
about that.
as a big,
As a big, I still don't know about that because I like
you
Dixon,
Dixon,
but
right? Yeah, yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. They're 1 and 2. There's no doubt.
no question. So if we ever need just a defensive lineup thrown out there, those two should be it. I don't think that'll happen, but those two should be it.
Yeah, I mean Bari's a good blocker, but Dixon. The last time I looked up at the numbers, they were like dead even between Dixon and Bari. So it's a toss up between those two.
Yeah. So yeah, hope hopefully we have one more win for the men's, and I'll be watching the women's play on Sunday for the 50th anniversary of Title IX celebration, 50th anniversary of Duquesne women's basketball celebration.
You were personally invited, weren't you?
I was invited to the alumni game on Saturday. I told Coach Burt that if he really needs bodies, I'll play, but I am more than happy to be a spectator for that one. So we'll see. We'll see if I actually have to take the court or not.
You better dust off those ball sneakers
I
in the deep in the
I,
closet,
I
or
pulled
I
them
think
out.
they're in your garage. I can't
They
remember.
are in my garage. I pulled them out to make sure that they weren't too dusty. I'll clean them up so that I can, you know, have some grip if I need to go.
Yep. Always be ready.
Always ready. All right. And for now, we'll see you later, folks.
Go Dukes.
The Dukes are back and now it's time to rise up. Rise up.